I've used names stolen from young boys who died when the card artist was himself just a child. There was Michael Hannon, an academic standout who died in 1960 at just 9 years of age after suffering to a short illness. Then there was Gary Hickson, who drowned in a California pool in 1962 while traveling with his family to the World's Fair in Seattle. Both boys were from Colorado, and in the years preceding the Navy Veterans Associated scam, the commander appeared to have used both their identities presumably. He had also done so in the manner outlined in the paper trip, first obtaining their birth certificates and using them as breeder documents. But this way of creating an ID was not foolproof and depended on a loophole, and loopholes could be closed. For years, paper trippers borrowing names like Hannon and Nixon took advantage of a system in which birth and death certificates were kept as completely separate records, but the 1976 Department of Justice report partially prompted by the paper trip made some suggestions. In addition to recommending passage of tighter laws and adoption of more stringent proceedings for birth certificate applications, the Commission suggested the creation of a new system that would cross-reference birth and death records so that the word deceased might be marked on copies of birth certificates belonging to people who had departed the earthly plane. Doing so would in fact make it impossible for a would-be ID thief to present a dead child's birth certificate as the foundational document on which to build a new life. If they were already deceased, there would be no reason they would be applying for an ID card after all. The paper chip warned that this new era of cross-referencing was coming, and that computers would hasten its arrival, but not to be discouraged. Its author offers some backup plans. Among these was the use of vital information taken not from the dead but from the living. Appeared to have previously used the names of long-gone children. By 1997, the commander himself had pivoted to the live victim method. He was wildly successful in capturing a slew of identities with the total security applicants in Gallup, specifically tailoring the language and placement of his help. I did add to ensnare the perfect victims. Wow. As Bill Bolden had discovered on his trip west, the commander had gone after a group of people almost as unlikely to raise an alarm as dead kids, live Indians. Not a single one of the total security applicants was known to have ever reported that their name had been stolen or put to use. There was a likely reason why. Well, as Navajos, we don't check our credits. Said Richard L. Overturf, a total security applicant who by 2014 lived so far from civilization that instead of a street number, his driver's license listed his address as the number of miles one had to drive from a tiny highway junction to pay him a visit. Dang. Overturf had associate's degrees in liberal arts and Dene or Navajo studies, a pedigree that made him one of the better educated men, whose names were among the 16 total security applications still known to exist in 2020. Wow. Most of the others were from high school graduates or ID recipients, and one of whom would later briefly admit, I can barely turn the computer on. Many of these job seekers were Native Americans coming from the Navajo Nation, Zuni Pueblo, and the Crow tribe in Montana. Years later, not a single one could remember reading the total security ad in the Independent or filling out an application, but most said that the personal data was deadly accurate. And it was, for sure, their handwriting on the employment form. In the year 1997, that was a while back, Albert Gross-Ventry said when asked nearly 20 years later whether he knew how an application containing his information ended up in the command Elmer L. Dozier, and Isaac N. Fraser. Though neither man's total security application was ever found, and thought it cannot be reported with absolute certainty that they even filled them out. Both men lived in and around Gallup, making it likely that, along with many of their neighbors, they had inadvertently fallen victim to the identity theft scheme in the summer of 1997. All that was known about the transaction took place on December 17th. The commander entered a branch of Indiana's Bureau of Motor Vehicles in Indianapolis and obtained a state ID card in Dozier's name. The next day, he made another trip to a BMV office, this time carrying a copy of Fraser's Louisiana birth certificate issued 1 month earlier. The man he pretended to be that day, Fraser, was in actuality an Air Force veteran born in New Orleans in August 1948, almost exactly 1 year after the commander's real birth in a city nearly 200 miles to the northeast. Though their birthdays are closely aligned, not all their vital statistics did. Unlike the commander, the real Fraser was an African American and a long-time member of the NAACP. Perhaps hoping that the winter holiday season would leave the clerks working at the bureau. That day distracted, and the commander waited his turn to present Fraser's birth certificate and an application for his state ID card in his name. Though the scar would not allow him to drive as a license would, he seemed to prefer this type of ID as the paper chip had advised. State identity cards were quicker and easier to obtain. The trip to the BMV proved to be a success, and soon the commander had two Indiana ID cards bearing his picture under the names of both Dozier and Fraser. Wow. That's crazy. 6 months later, in June 1998, he strolled into a similar office, this time in his new home state of Florida, and obtained a third identity card, using the name of yet another man who had lived in the Southwest in the late 1990s, a Choctaw named Bobby Charles Thompson. He was in Indiana. However, that con artist felt most at ease on obtaining ID cards. In January 2000, he returned to Indianapolis and got an ID in the name of a fourth likely totem applicant, Gallup resident Ronnie Britton. Perhaps he chose Indiana, the so-called crossroads of America, because perhaps he chose Indiana, the so-called crossroads of America, because it was smack dab in the middle of the country, or perhaps it was because he had discovered it was an easy place to get what he needed. In 2004, the Indianapolis Star reported that problems at the state's fraud and corruption plague Peru of motor vehicles had allowed hundreds, if not thousands of foreign nationals to obtain driver's licenses and state identification cards illegally. That same year, news reports also revealed that in Marion County, Indianapolis, 10% of the state's BMV employees had criminal records, half of which were for crimes involving theft or deception. It was the kind of bureaucratic corruption and incompetence a man like the commander knew how to find and exploit. Something he did on multiple trips to the city over the course of a decade. Between 1997 and 2008, he would obtain at least 9 ID cards under 4 different names from the Indiana BMV. These trips of reinvention were well-planned affairs. Oh my goodness, this guy's on a roll. Wow, Commander, you are something else. Okay, guys, I'm gonna end the video here. Hope you guys are liking the story. It's getting crazy. It's getting crazier and crazier. He got like a lot of ID cards of people with stolen identities.